Call this meeting to order. Welcome everyone to our Quinte West Agricultural Advisory Committee meeting, and we appreciate your attendance. So without further ado, we'll get right into the agenda here. We have no closed session. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? None noted. And could I have an approval of the agenda for September the 16th? Councillor McHugh, Brian Cruz. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Now I would ask for approval of the minutes of the June the 16th Agricultural Advisory Committee meeting. Mr. Close and Mayor Harrison. All in favor? Carried. I should have asked if there's any errors or omissions, but I didn't hear any rebuttals, so we'll just take it that's a given. Okay, we'll get right into the public meetings, meeting portion of it, public input. I don't see a big crowd out here, so I guess we'll dispense with that. And presentations, I guess we'll have some further down the agenda, nothing planned at this time. And delegations, none. Staff reports and other decision items. Do you have anything, Brian, bring up in staff reports or anything? Not this time, okay. And correspondence, I didn't see anything at this time unless you had something, and supplementary agendas. Notice of motion, none noted. Okay, we get into new and other business, and Brian, I guess you want to discuss drainage policy update and
Yes.
and other concerns.
So the committee will remember, the last meeting when I raised the concept of formal approval whereby this municipality could grant permission for a farmer to outlet a tile drainage system into a municipal roadside ditch. And of course, we know that there is no legal requirement for the municipality to do that. No one can outlet water onto a neighboring property unless permission is granted by the neighboring property. So in this case, the agricultural community is asking for permission to outlet water into the neighboring property, which in this case is the municipal roadside ditch. And I will just repeat that it is a practice that's gone on for 100 years, and on our farm we have many tile drainage outlets in roadside ditches, and those have happened over the years without consequence. So we were just looking at formalizing that process, and I want to thank Chris Angelo for providing me with a document that does formalize that. It's very well done, and that was forthcoming shortly after the last meeting, and there's a few little concerns in it that I simply have not had time to address with him, but I think it's well underway, and I think it's going to be a great initiative here in Quinte West. I'm not aware of any other municipality that has taken this exact approach. I'm not saying there isn't, but it's very simple, straightforward, and I see no reason why it should not be perfect. That's the word I'll use. And I can ask, that's all I have to say about it. If anybody...
Any questions or comments from any of the committee members in that regard?
Well, through Mr. Chair, I understand where you're going, what you're trying to do, and let's hope it works. Because if you are not happy with somebody else's water and the outlets, it costs you a lot of money to try to change it.
Yeah, and it's certainly in the municipality's best interest as well, because the alternative is to petition for the farmer to petition for a municipal drain, and that's very costly. So to get a simple process like this, I think it's great. I'm looking forward to finishing it.
Okay, any other questions?
Well, this year you don't have to worry about it.
Not right now, went away.
We
in the spring it was a little wet.
We did in the spring. We did in the spring.
Went from one sublime to ridiculous, but anyway. Okay, if there's no other comments on that, Brian, I think our next issue we're going to ask you to discuss is the new Picton terminal that's being built in Picton for shipping grain.
So, yeah, I just want to draw the committee's attention to this, this great initiative in Prince Edward County at the former well, I'm not sure if former is the word, the Picton terminal. So it's the port where for many, many years, iron ore was shipped out of there, you know, something like from the 50s until probably the 80s. And the iron ore went from Marmora, our rail line, down through Quinte West on its way to Picton, a load every day, 40 train cars or something like that, and loaded onto boats in Picton, and then went to a mill in the U.S. So that was, I believe, Bethlehem Steel owned all of that, and it closed down in the 80s. Anyway, the port has sat, you know, in disuse for a number of years, and a local company has bought it and refurbishing the port, and you know, the approval has been granted to build grain silos there. Parrish and Heimbecker is the company, the same company that has the elevator here in Trenton. And it's a great initiative. You know, so much of the cost of agricultural commodities is shipping. So the cheaper that the farming community can ship that grain and soybeans and wheat to its end user, the more money returns to the local agricultural community and gets spent in the community. And of course, shipping is the most efficient, and efficiency is a broad term, but I think we could look at a whole bunch of categories and shipping would come out on top of all of those. So the local agricultural community, you know, so of course to make this port work, an MZO is required, and the local municipality is in favor and has asked for an MZO to rezone the port to the proper zoning to let all of this happen. And the local agricultural community in all 4 counties is very much behind that and has supported that MZO. Additionally, there's another issue that needs to be addressed, and that's the infamous Highway 49. Running from 401 down to Picton. Of course, the trucks will have to, grain has to get into this port, and a lot of it will go down the Highway 49. So there's quite a local effort to secure funding from the provincial and the federal government to rebuild that highway. And again, the local agricultural community was behind that and advocated for funding for that highway.
Yes, and it'll save a lot of trucks from going to Prescott, as you see B trains every day when you're up and down the road, and I guess some even truck some to Hamilton, and some have tried to use that Oshawa terminal, but I don't think it's really proved out as good as they had expected for grain shipments. But it's quite a, Councillor McHugh and I, we get a Picton paper through often. I'm sure Brian is aware of it because he's a Wellington resident. It's a contentious issue down there with a lot of the residents, and it's going to cause pollution, and I know, well, the Dornkamp family is the one who owns the facility there, and when you read that paper, there's a lot of controversy about it. But anyway, it sounds like it's going to go through, and I think it's, as you said, a great boon and a benefit for the area, that's for sure. And you know, if you're thinking of pollution, it's less diesel trucks going up and down the highway. It's shorter hauls, so it's going to benefit the farmer community and shipping costs, that's for sure. But anyway, we'll look forward to that opening. I think they're in the midst of building it now. I've never been by it. I think you can look across the bay from the south side and see it being built. But anyway, it's not like it was never used before, as you said. And of course, you got this big cement plant just to the east of it. So I think an existing use that can be well made of, and it's a deep port. So it's got a lot of benefits, that's for sure. Any other comments, Mr. Mayor?
You're right, and one of the questions asked in one of the public meetings was, has anybody ever been down to see the bottom? That was the question, and just through you, Mr. Chair, we're talking about the incoming material, and the sad part is that we, took up all the tracks, and in my lifetime, I saw a good many iron ore trains come down through. Macaulay's have a 99-year lease on the track land, and so, but it's sad that we took the tracks up, so they're no longer there, no longer usable, and so otherwise we could be using those tracks to ship our grain from Parrish Heimbecker right on down to the port. But so the question I'm asking is, have we secured any kind of agreement with anyone to ship out.
You're talking like a shipping line or something like that?
Yeah, or anybody to ship any material out of that port. We got it coming in, but do we have any?
Well, I think it's the other way around. I think
Okay,
I
all
think
right.
the agreement at this point, so the zoning is correct at this point to allow grain to be shipped out. So for the port and the silos are built. But for the port to operate most efficiently, those ships that come in, need to be carrying something, need to be carrying product in. And that is the crux of this issue. That is the ministerial zoning order will allow those boats to come in with raw material, whatever it may be, and unload that and store it, as best I understand it.
Yeah, you're right. I'm just going the wrong way. You're right, and you're thinking about materials such as fertilizer coming in.
And I can't say. I've heard steel, construction materials, that
Yeah,
sort of thing, so I don't really know. It's not too hard to imagine that there would be some benefit to the agricultural community with some of that product coming in, but I don't know that.
Well, I think isn't that the key to the success of this whole thing, is that they get shipping both ways?
That's correct. And that's what the ministerial zoning order, that has not been approved yet, by the way.
But weren't we informed that they would sign it? Or am I?
Would, you know, until the ink is on the page.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, Brian, I guess you're up next. You had some questions and concerns about development charges, and I think the mayor told me this morning, Brian maybe can fill in some of the blank spots that you're looking for in your questions, maybe?
Well, there are lots of them, and I'm, again, a little out of my league here, but OFA, I have a couple of things I'm going to read that will make it a little more understandable. They have a new tool where they've identified 7 bylaws that have an agricultural component to them, and it will flag municipal bylaws that are coming up for renewal that doesn't have a favorable agricultural component. And one of the ones that was flagged was development charges in Quinte West. And as best I understand it, that bylaw is coming up for renewal the first of the year or in the new year. And my hope is that we can address the development charges between now and then and get it a little more favorable. So I was surprised to see this, and I wrote the staff person, Ben Lafort at OFA, and his response was, unfortunately, Quinte West is in the minority of municipalities that do not have an exemption for farm buildings in its development charges bylaw. In this situation, farm buildings in the municipality would be charged the non-residential development charge rates laid out in Schedule A. There are about 170 farms in Quinte West's municipal boundaries, so any of those farms that want to build or replace a farm building like a barn would be facing some pretty steep development charge fees. Now the letter goes on and it concludes with, I would be happy, and this is the staff person from OFA, to make a presentation to the local council on this issue and walk them through the issue and help with any questions. Also, of course, if I have any questions, he's invited me to contact him. Now, he has provided a little more background here that explains a little more about how this initiative came about. In OFA's second annual Business Confidence Survey, we asked farmers over the next year, which of the following issues are likely to pose the biggest challenge to your farm business? Over 1,000 farmers identified municipal policies and bylaws, and I'm cutting you a little bit of slack here, as the number 4 overall challenge to their business. Only behind rising tax burden, cost of insurance, and rising input costs. So the municipal policies weren't number 1, but they were in the top 4. Currently, the database tracks the following bylaws for all municipalities: backyard chickens, hoop houses, livestock guardian dogs, tree cutting, site alteration, so that's 5 of them, and I've rearranged the list here a little bit because I think the next 2 kind of go together. Stormwater charges, and I've talked about that before, and finally, development charges. So I grouped those 2 together. And the primer goes on to say, only 5% of Ontario's land base is suitable for agriculture. And since we have no way of making more soil, we need to hold on to the productive farms and farmland and soil that we have. And if the supply of productive agricultural land continues to dwindle, everyone will suffer. Every day, prime agricultural land is lost to non-agricultural uses like housing and commercial developments and aggregate extraction. Development charges are a financial tool that, with only a slight adjustment, can create incentives to help keep agricultural land in production. Most municipalities and agricultural areas have chosen to exempt farm buildings from development charges. However, subsequent bylaws may inadvertently omit the existing exemptions for farm building structures unless farmers and municipal councillors are vigilant. Development charges that impose a fee on farm structures creates a disincentive for the farmers to reinvest in their farm operation, which undermines the financial viability of the Ontario family farms and leads to the loss of agricultural land. For development charges to create the financial incentives necessary to support the protection of agricultural land, the Development Charges Act must be amended to provide a statutory exemption for farm buildings. And this is why I grouped the development charges and stormwater fees together. OFA has been advocating, and we do have quite a bit of support from the government, that stormwater fees should not apply to agricultural land. And it surprises me that we're not quite as loud in advocating that development charges also not apply to agricultural land at the provincial level. And I'm here advocating at the municipal level. In addition to creating financial incentives to preserve agricultural land, exempting farm structures from paying development charges makes sense, given that the purpose of the development charges are to pay for increased capital costs required because of the increased need for services arising from development. So, you know, and that means that just what it says, a new development, if it requires more capital from the municipality, should be required to pay for that. But the argument here is that farm buildings do not require those extra services from the municipality and therefore not have to pay. It sounds very familiar to the stormwater argument that I've made before. New farm residents with an impact unit classification of residential unit or farm residential unit should be treated the same as other new residences with regards to development charges, which means we're not asking for an exemption on residential units, just farm buildings. Growth-related capital needs need to be attributed to all new residences. The construction of new farm buildings and structures, however, does not generate growth-related capital costs. Therefore, development charges should not apply to farm buildings and structures. If they do, farmers are bearing more than their share of the municipality's capital expenditures. Standardizing the application of development charges to agriculture throughout the province with a province-wide exemption would prevent farmers from facing inequitable treatment in a minority of municipalities that have inadvertently not provided an exemption. So it goes on to talk about some of the numbers here that have and haven't and that sort of thing. So OFA does have a model bylaw that would accomplish much of what I speak, and I guess I'm looking for the committee to perhaps direct this committee to, if there's questions at the council level, do we need to have Ben Lafort give a presentation? I'm looking for advice on, you know, I guess firstly clarification from Mr. Jardine. Am I on the right track here? Let's start with that.
And one thing you mentioned, which we do not have here, is a tree cutting bylaw.
That's correct.
So it did mention that there, but we do not have a tree cutting
I'll be
bylaw.
watching for it.
So I just thought I'd say, we're exempt in that part. Brian, you want to do some comments, or you've probably got a list of some of the thoughts there, maybe?
Yeah, thank you to you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Cruz, presentation and the information provided is pretty much spot on in terms of the factual situation. City of Quinte West bylaw does not exempt agricultural buildings currently. I think the one thing that I would clarify from the information that you received from the OFA was the city did indeed update its development charge bylaw at the end of last year, and then there was an amendment to it earlier this year, but it has just recently been passed. So rather than, I think the information you received was that it was upcoming, it's actually just passed. But that being said, the other information is correct. We do not exempt agricultural properties at this point in time. A lot of municipalities do. As to how many, what proportion, I don't have that statistics, but I think the information from OFA, I think I would rely on that. The majority probably do exempt agricultural properties. Currently, city does not. If that was something that this committee wanted to forward to council, what I would probably suggest is that it be forwarded to staff through finance, so that obviously staff could report to council on the potential implications of that. I think one comment I would make in terms of the general premise is correct that the phrase that's often coined is under development charges, growth pays for growth, and that's true for the most part. And the majority of the capital expenses that are built into a development charge bylaw are, I think, predominantly towards highly developed areas, be they residential, industrial, commercial. But that being said, there is capital upgrades, whether it be road infrastructure, bridge infrastructure, that does also benefit some of the rural areas and development within the rural areas. And the way that the development charge costing works is that the costs applied to a development are effectively prorated as to whether they're urban or rural and what services they have available to them. So there is a scaling of the cost there. But that being said, agricultural buildings are currently charged development charge. So I think while the development charge bylaw was recently passed, a municipality can open it up and update it at any time. So they're not restricted to 5 years or 4 years before they can review it again. A municipality can review it at any point in time and make amendments to it. So again, I would suggest, I did actually have a quick conversation with the Director of Finance before this meeting, and he said that he recognises as we went through that development charge upgrade process that all of our non-residential are captured under one category, and he has seen other development charges that split it into different categories, agricultural being one. So certainly that's something that staff could prepare a report on and deliver to council for council's consideration. But I think the first step would be to get a motion from this committee to direct staff to bring some information forward to council.
Do you have any other comments on that before I ask for a support of a resolution or motion?
No, other than to thank you for your comments.
Brian can make the motion, I'll second it.
Okay, moved by Brian Cruz and second by Mayor Harrison.
Yeah, I may not have the wording just right, but making a motion that staff prepare a report for council to investigate the option of having agricultural farm buildings exempt from municipal development charges.
Okay, now we want it to come to this committee first, do we not? And then we'll look at it and then you'll have.
That would be at the committee's discretion if they wanted an information report and maybe a further conversation. Maybe the contact from the OFA could attend this committee as well and have a more fulsome conversation at this committee. That would be an option, certainly.
So that wording with the invitation to the Federation of Agriculture staff person to present to this committee, would we want to do that before we have a staff prepare a report, or do it all in one meeting?
Your mic's not on, Mr. Mayor.
Staff should bring a report to us. We look at it, discuss it, have OFA here, any other members that want to attend, and then we can refine the report, or if we're happy with what is in the report, then we can send it on to council.
Could we send that report to the OFA staff person? Or we're way beyond our motion here. Can we send that report to the OFA staff person, have him review it and present his comments at this committee meeting? Is that a reasonable thing?
Brian?
Again, at the committee's discretion, we can prepare some staff information, consult with OFA for their comments, and then bring that combined report back to the committee. That's
Before we leave this, may I ask through you, Mr. Chair, have we had any farm buildings in the last, I guess that's my question. I know they were trying to build a hog barn, and we didn't have any place in this, in our city that had the required distance to even build a hog barn. So we were out of that just because of our, I guess you'd say, situation, criteria, our neighbors, and so on. So, but I don't even.
Yeah, through Mr. Chair, I can't think, top of my head, I can't think of any significant projects in the last few months. Certainly lots of small buildings, but probably nothing significant.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's been lots of machine storage sheds and stuff like that, and shops and whatever, but I don't know of any major livestock other than, I guess, Hofsteiser's, a number of years ago, we went to their big new barn opening there, and I know you've done some renovations over the years, but not just recently either, so maybe if you could have your staff look and see what the stats are in the building, stats are about recent and what have you. Certainly the farmers are getting fewer and far between, but bigger as it, the way things are going down the road, so. Not too many livestock operations left. There are lots of cash crop farmers, but, Brian?
I'm not sure I have to go down this road, but I think I just should mention that I do think there's a paragraph, at least in the Quinte West official plan, that encourages the development and recognition of agriculture, and to me, this would be a step in the right direction.
Yep. Are you comfortable with the direction? I'll put it that way, Brian, before I ask the vote for the motion.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So basically, we'll respond back to Staff and Finance Department to prepare an information report related to the impacts and potential for exemption of agricultural buildings from Development Charges Act. We'll consult with OFA on that report and then bring that combined report back to this committee.
Okay, is everybody comfortable with that wording?
I think so. Through you, Mr. Chair, I think so, but we have to be very careful because we don't want somebody, putting up something that we're not proud of. We want to see things developed and built according to the requirements that are necessary. I'm thinking of some on Miron Road that you may have seen recently that, anyways.
Well, this has nothing to do with the building permit. So a building permit.
No, nothing to do with the building permit, but it has a lot to do with the building.
So, but anything greater than 10 by 10 should still require a building permit, and this should not affect that process.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Now,
Ms. Grills?
as you know, I have land in 3 different municipalities. Anyhow, I know where there was a nice barn built. It's supposed to be a barn. It's really a dance hall and a venue for weddings. I imagine some of you fellas know where it is. Anyway, it's like that should have definitely had development charges on that. Even though he lets on it's for cows and he doesn't have a darn animal. Lucky if he's got a dog or a cat.
Maybe, Brian, you could look into the definition of what qualifies for a agricultural farm building, I guess.
Yeah, through Mr. Chair. So I think the order in which that would happen, if somebody followed the correct path, right? Let's say somebody followed the correct path. First step there would be to have a zoning done on the property to allow for that type of use. And therefore, any permit that came in for a building such as that, and you're correct. You're correct. The number of wedding venues that seem to be springing up around this region is something else. But so that would be applied as a commercial property, not as an agricultural property. So development charges would apply in that case. Yep. Well, again, yes, but I think the catch there is that where that usually gets caught if somebody doesn't follow the correct path is that at the point of building permit, the building inspectors can judge the difference between a barn and a wedding venue, and that's when the city becomes aware of what the use is proposed as.
So I guess my next question before I call the vote, when do you feel that, what time frame do you need to put this together? And then my other question to the committee here, our next meeting is scheduled for December the 16th. Do you want to deal with it at that meeting, or would you like something sooner? Or we can certainly call a meeting sooner, but I know staff has to have some time to put some facts and figures together. So I leave it up to the committee for future direction on that too. Brian?
Yeah, perhaps, Mr. Chair, if I could suggest if the committee leaves the date as it is, I'm just conscious of the fact that we are, as council members know and committee know, all departments are ramping up, particularly finance on the budget now. There's a lot of energy into the overall budget. So as for the amount of time availability within finance, I don't want to speak out of turn on behalf of another department. So I would suggest we leave the 16th date, and if staff can prepare that report and do that outreach to the OFA in advance of that, then at the call of the chair we can set up a meeting in advance.
Comfortable with that, Brian? Okay, I just wanted to make sure before, because it leaves it kind of open-ended, and I know staff has some prep time to get things put together, to get the right facts and figures, so. Okay, we have a motion on the floor, and it was been regularly moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Now, close to that adjournment, but I'm going to go around the table and see if there's any concerns you want brought up before I call adjournment. Mr. Keating, do you have anything this evening, or this afternoon, I should say?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm disappointed, I guess, in the corner of Hearns and Crow Road. This is the last time I'll bring it up. It's been brought up 3 years now, and nothing's been done. It's a safety concern. I don't understand why a council or staff or somebody hasn't done something with it. It's completely blind. The neighbors all consider it another Dug Hill Road. And I don't agree that that's the way it should be put, but that's what's been told. And I go back, I congratulate Brian and Gail both on what they're doing with OFA. It's great, and they're moving above the county level. I only got involved with the county level. But when we was going back, when there was a lot of farms, like in a lot of small farms, a lot of people, not a lot, there was accidents, lots of accidents. There was accidents. They were, the OFA had policies, safety policies. They pounded and pounded and pounded on safety. Here, now we look at the little farmers the old farmers that's passed on, not as retired. They're looking at that corner and they're saying there's safety there. We've been pounded all our farming lives that safety was a priority. Why isn't this corner done? I said, well, I brought it up. So, but I'll say this is the last time I'm going to bring it up. It seems to be a sore or something. So that's just my way of trying to get you to understand, or council to understand, and staff, that this is a safety concern. And as we was farming all our lives, and Brian isn't that far behind, that he knows what it is, and you, Jim, and you have all had experience with the safety factors that's been pounded into us when we was farming. All I ask is that please do something with that corner. Clean it out so we can see down the road.
Yeah. And that basically refers back to the brushing issue, just for the record, to make sure.
It's just the brush.
Yeah.
And they've been.
I got Jimmy Turner on the phone.
Can I got the floor for a minute, please?
Yep. Go ahead.
Just listen.
It's, all it takes is like I said, the trucks and the excavator was by that corner last summer. It could have been cleaned up then but anyways, so all I'm saying is, all of us folks here has been through the mill about safety factors. Safety, safety, safety. And that corner is a safety concern. We got the loaders gets out on the road and they're all the way across that road before we can see down the road. So all I ask, I'm not bringing it up no more, but I just ask if we can't clean that corner up.
Okay. Well, certainly staff will pass it along to Public Works again. I know we haven't got Mr. Angelo here, but Mr. Mayor, you're talking to,
Jimmy Turner.
okay.
You hear what he's talking about, Jim?
Yeah, where is he referring to? What
Hearns and Crow Road.
What corner?
Keating.
Keating and Crow Road.
Hearns and Crow,
Sorry, Hearns.
Hearns and Crow Road.
Hearns and Crow Road corner.
All right, I'll go look at it tomorrow, see what we can do.
Okay, thank you very much. He's gonna look at it. Jimmy Turner's gonna look at it.
Okay, thank you. Brian, do you have anything more?
No more comments from me.
Thank you.
And everybody, you know, the problem. Yeah, or not communicating, or not sitting down with each other to discuss the issue, because 99% of the time, when we talk to staff about a concern, they look at it seriously and often respond back to me or to one of our directors or what can be done and what should be done. So, yeah, maybe this one did slip by, but at least somebody's going to take a look at it. Our CAO, I shouldn't say acting anymore, Chris Angelo, he's away because his daughter had a baby. And rightly so. That's where he should be. I don't disagree with that at all. And you can't be, I don't care who you are, you can't be in two places, and you want to be the most important, that's with your family. And that's what we're all, you know, Gail and so on, we've been around a long time, and the most important part of our life is our family, right? Mm-hmm. And we're not getting married again, we're just trying to hold on.
God sakes, no.
Okay, thank you. All right, well,
I'll
thank you.
start down at this end. Dan, do you have anything you want to bring up or concerns? Mr. Mayor, anything else?
No, I don't, all I can ask is that you pray for rain, because I'll tell you, where I live, I'm in the valley, but water is, yeah, I have enough today, but I don't know how long I'm gonna have enough.
Okay.
It's a
Gail,
Oh,
Ms. Grills, I think you had a comment, and I think you had some concerns with brushing too. We might just well bring that up here. You discussed it earlier, so
for goodness sakes,
for the record.
That brusher. No, it's bad as Jim here. That brusher that comes up, does the Oak Hills and everything else, it has to come in Rosebush Road because it cannot go over the bridge at Glen Ross, okay? So all it has to do is come in Rosebush Road, go up the Fairgrounds Road, go up Piers Road, and go up Anderson Island Road. I'm sure it wouldn't take even a half a day to do all of that. And those roads need it badly. And we're going to be in the same boat as here as Fred is, because I know where there was a car went in the ditch just 2 or 3 weeks ago because they went down the road and did not realize that it came to a stop. There was a day it stopped there. So, anyhow, that's one thing. We've got to get that brusher up there. I don't care what.
Okay, well,
It just, yes.
be duly noted and passed along.
Yeah. Anyhow, the other thing I have, and this is something, along between the two bridges here in Trenton, okay? Or I shouldn't say Trenton, but anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, downtown Trenton. There's a piece of land right next to the river that's got weeds and whatnot growing in it, and it's got fleabane in it. And a farmer that knows what fleabane is, as a matter of fact, the weed inspector came along not too far from where I live, but not in Quinte West, and made somebody plow down a whole field just recently because of the fleabane. Because the fleabane is just unreal. And Fred probably knows the farm that I'm talking about.
It's unreal right at my place.
I was going to say, drive out Highway 2 at the
Okay.
little farm there.
Well, anyhow,
There's
somebody
acres of it.
Somebody reported some weed inspector anyhow, and the weed inspector came and made them, I don't know, do we have a
That
weed
piece of
inspector?
property you're talking about, Gail,
It's right on Carmel Road.
but that piece of property out here
Yeah.
was planted by the by the Lower Trent Conservation to be reverted back to natural growth. And I've got complaints that looks like hell, excuse my terminology, because it's full of goldenrod or whatever, but you better take it up with Lower Trent, because they're the ones that planted that, and it's planted as a natural habitat, I guess you'd want to say, and reverted back to natural growth.
Well, you point me in the right way, in the right direction.
So
and
if
I'll say,
you want to come to a board meeting, that's the best I would tell you. I don't disagree with you because I've had other complaints. I thought it looked nicer when you could mow the grass or whatever, but the mindset is to have naturalized areas as much as possible. To me, that's nothing but weeds, but I'm a farmer, so what they think is weeds is one person's I view as different than another one's. So.
You can't walk there because you know what fleabane is. If it gets on your skin, you want to be getting some water on it real fast because it burns. Anyway, that was my complaint. Complaint or not.
But their meetings is the second Thursday of every month, and so if you want to get on as a delegation, I give the secretary a call out there and certainly come and do a presentation, or I can bring it up if you so wish. But
Yes.
it'd be nice to have some of the outside public express their concerns, that's for sure.
You want me to do this
Yeah,
too?
sure, by all means.
Well, we had the wall. Oh yes, sorry. We had the Wall of Fame on Sunday, and
Yeah, I never even got a notice about it.
here we go. You're the third person.
You're about to get.
Anyway, next year, September the 13th, it's the Wall of Fame presentation. It's at Farmtown Park. It's for the counties of Hastings, Northumberland, Prince Edward, and Lennox and Addington counties.
And make sure you add a separated city called Quinte West.
Okay,
not in the
because,
county.
okay, good, because I've already had a request from Belleville, so Quinte West and Belleville now, okay. Anyway, it is where we by May the 1st, you can nominate someone to the Wall of Fame. They have to have been in agriculture, but not necessarily a farmer. They could have,
Machinery
yeah,
salesperson, a
yes,
grain
yes,
supplier.
yes.
An auctioneer, or
Yes.
something that benefits farming.
Anything. You have to have done more than just in your own little community. You have to have reached out like into Quinte West or like, okay, now Brian, he's moved on up into the OFA ranks, the same as I did myself. But anyway, there was 5 people, Angela Miller from Prince Edward, Frank Forrestal, deceased from Hastings, Bruce Cogney from Lennox and Addington, Jim Coveney, and Betty Jean Cruz were just nominated, just put into the Wall of Fame. Anyway, we had Sunday afternoon, and it was, I think it went well, didn't it, Brian?
Of course. Great.
Anyway, I don't know. I was supposed to do the acknowledgement, but I think I got roped into a little bit more, didn't I, Brian? About an hour before the thing started.
And you did a great job.
I don't know about that, but anyway, yeah, anyway. I would like to see Quinte West, because it doesn't necessarily need to be a federation. Individuals can nominate someone. I'd like to see Quinte West nominate some of you people here in Quinte West that are,
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor McHugh, you get the last kick
Yeah,
of the
thank you. With what our esteemed colleague here, Gail Groves, was just talking about, is it possible we can bring forth maybe a motion that we include something on the city's website, and maybe people can bring nominations forward, maybe to this committee? We could have a look at them, shortlist them, and forward them on in time for next year's.
May the 1st. And you're not getting an extension, because if I've got to run this show, there's no extensions. Not like this year.
Something we can look into?
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and it gives people on the outside a chance to review people, names, and bring forward. Yeah,
And don't nominate somebody and tell me they're alive, or dead when they're really alive.
So is that something that, Andrea, you can do? Let the city make whatever, put on the website? We don't need a motion or anything for that, we can just agree to do that?
just
Is
a
that-
direction, yeah.
Yeah, that's all I have, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Okay, thank you. wait till Andrea's done there. But anyway, if there's no other further business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. I will repeat that our next scheduled meeting is December the 16th, and if there's anything prior to that, we'll certainly, between Andrew and myself, can queue it up if it needs to be done. So I thank everyone for their attendance and their input. Yep, and could I get a mover and a seconder for the adjournment? Ms. Grills, Mayor Harrison. Everybody opposed? Oh, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Meeting adjourned. Thank you for your attendance.